Sony's Days of Play sale has just started, and by far one of the coolest things about this is the limited edition PS4 Slim. I gotta say, when I first saw pictures of this thing, my immediate thought was, that looks really good. This is the best looking PS4 Slim, and possibly even just the best looking PS4 they've released so far, and seeing it in person just further confirms it. Last time was just one solid color, whereas this time we're doing this blue design which looks really nice, but on top of it, you're getting this gold symbols on the top which look beautiful. Even when I'm kind of noticing certain things about it that I'm normally not a huge fan of, like for instance, I know I've told you guys a bunch of times before, I don't like how Sony is obsessed with doing gloss tops on their special editions, and while that normally is true, it works really well here, especially because they're using a mixture of a matte color and a metallic, where we have the gold. Just all together on the gloss looks really nice. If I want to be nitpicky, there are some little things about it that do bother me, mostly having to do with the controller and a part of the system you're never going to see. For the controller, the blue looks really nice. Personally, I'm just not a huge fan of when on the controller touchpad they do this sort of patterning design where they just put the symbols over and over and over again. Personally, I'm just not a big fan of that. I would have much rather just seen, in bigger letters, each symbol once across the middle. I think that would have looked better, but, personal preference. As for the system, this is super nitpicky and minor, but if we're gonna talk about negatives, it's on the backside right here. So the feet designs, they always have the couple of rubber ones mixed in, and normally while they are a different color than the other feet, it's not that noticeable because it's usually pretty dull tones. But with how vibrant this blue is, you really notice the gray on the circular and X feet right here. Super nitpicky thing, I know, but yeah. So other than just those two things though, honestly, this is an incredible looking system. By the way guys, I'm gonna be taking a lot of still shots of this thing to put on my Instagram, so if you guys wanna see more of it, make sure to check that out. Now some of you may be looking at this system and the design on top with the square, triangle, X and circle, and might be wondering, why are those things that PlayStation uses? Well, it's actually really interesting. It was talked about back in 2010 in an interview with the guy that designed the original PS1 controller, Teyu Gato. I hope I pronounced that right. And it's really interesting how this came to be. So at the time when the PS1 was being designed, the biggest competitors were Nintendo and Sega. And for them, their controllers all use the same kind of basic design of using just letters like A, B, X, Y, so on and so forth. And sometimes using colorful buttons as well. They wanted to do something different to help differentiate their controller. And so the idea was to use symbols instead that represented different things that might be used in game. It's not always that actual direct comparison, but that's the idea. So for the triangle, the idea is that it associates with point of view. The character's head, what direction the camera's looking at, that kind of idea. With the square, it's supposed to be a piece of paper or a menu, something that brings up an option select for in-game menu stuff aside from traditional options. The X and O are by far the simplest ones, which are simply yes and no. X being no, cancel, whatever. Circle being yes, accept, so on and so forth, which is really funny because it always gets confusing with American ports of games, because X is always one for select, so it gets really confusing sometimes. And a really fun fact about this too, by the way, is that the designer also picked what colors he wanted each one to be, and apparently had arguments with other coworkers over the fact that he wanted the X, which is decline, to be blue, and the circle, which is accept, to be red. Because everyone was like, doesn't that make more sense the other way around? He's like, no, this is what we're doing. This is what I want. So that's how those symbols came to be, and honestly, I think they've been incorporated beautifully into the system's design. I know I said earlier that when I first saw this thing, my thought was like, oh wow, this is one of the best PS4 Slims they've done, and yeah, I definitely still think that. I mean, they have some other ones that your mileage may vary, where you might like a certain color more, but as far as incorporating a great color choice with a cool design, definitely best looking Slim, and probably the best looking of all the PS4 designs, even compared to Pros. I think maybe the God of War one gives it some competition, but yeah, this is definitely the best looking one in my opinion. These are showing up in stores right now. It's really hard to do any kind of like online order ones because those went up earlier, but you might have your luck in a store. We'll put a link down below just for you guys to check out, and I'll see you guys later.